The core values are something that I scratched out, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and just kind of began to assemble. These are not refined, but it kind of represents what it is that we think, what it is that we try and do. And so, and Kyle and I just kind of bounce back and forth about I mean, a lot of these are like, I mean, this is who we are, Kyle, but we've not, I mean, a lot of it's just kind of, I mean, it is who we are. So a lot of it is just, it kind of just comes out of our stuff.
I think most of it's like basic principles you should follow as a human being.
I agree.
It's pretty simple stuff.
I agree. But part of it, I guess part of it for me is when I've seen media agencies in the past, it's like, oh, I don't want to be that. That's not what I want to be. We didn't really set out to be a news station. That's not really who we are. I mean, our primary goal, I guess, is to create positive stories or to capture positive stories that help connect people in Eastern Oregon. We have a lot of cool things, and we like Eastern Oregon. We like Eastern Oregon people, and we want to brag about them to each other. And so, you know, so then the news is kind of secondary. Our mission is to create interesting, local, relevant programming that is uplifting and helpful for connecting individuals in Eastern Oregon that advertisers will find value in and will be profitable for us. Now, you talk about a run-on sentence. That's a run-on sentence.
That is a run-on sentence.
But that's kind of our mission. That's more of a business statement than anything. So here's our core values. Number one, we will represent the population we serve proportionally as much as possible. So, I mean, let me break that down for you, because there are times that we have people say, well, you know, that's a conservative story or that's a liberal story, one way or another. And in our environment, personally, we try and stay away from politically divisive stories. But if we do wander into, if we cover a story that goes one way or the other, then we have an obligation to proportionally cover. So it's not 50-50. That's kind of what you all need to understand. You know, if you look at Union County, it's about 60% conservative, 40% left, liberal. I don't know what, you know, and there's even there's divisions in those terms. And so then, you know, if we had to break it down proportionally, then that's kind of what we look. But frankly, we try and stay away from those kind of stories. So number two, we do not believe that our view is superior to the view of others. The world has lots of opinions, and we will limit ourselves by injecting our opinion into the conversation. There was one part of the sentence that was left off of there. I just didn't have room. And we will label it clearly when we're injecting our opinion.
Yeah, that's the most important part of it.
Yeah.
Which we don't inject our opinion very often.
No, this show, this show is probably
the only place.
The place that we do. And I think that most people, they assume, I'm hoping you all assume that, you know, when I'm talking right now, I'm talking from my perspective, what I believe, what I think. So number three, we will not be shamed or bullied into not following our principles. I mean, we've had a lot of pressure. I've had people call me a liar. I've had people call me names, you know, and some of those people are my friends. And some of you have apologized publicly, and I accept that apology. You know, part of this business is having a little bit of a thick skin, because when you're at home and you see something on social media that upsets you, it is so easy to just pop something off. And yep. I don't think that, I mean, I know that I have been guilty of that at times, not as much anymore because of the perspective I have now. But the fact is that I know that people do not represent who they really are when they do that. And so then I try and give them grace. It's like, yeah, well, sorry, I still love you. Doesn't matter if you don't. Yeah. So anyhow, that's all right. Let's go on. We won't be bullied. Okay. Number four. This is similar. We will not give in to pressure by outside forces to use our voice in a way that serves a particular agenda. And this, you got to know, these were in place
before any of this ever happened.
before. In fact, you can go back to a show. It's probably a year ago on a morning, and I did an AM show by myself, and I read these things right off the paper. We're not going to be used in that manner. And I would say this: the injury to the offense, or the offense to, I'm not saying that correct, but what even makes it worse is when they know.
Yeah.
When they know that there's the possibility. I kind of missed my thought prospect. All right, but anyhow, we'll go on.
They get it, DC.
Yeah,
they understand.
Again, this was there before. We have an obligation to not embarrass our sponsors with our content.
We still have sponsors that anything that we put out on our network reflects on them.
We will always make an effort to discover both sides of the story, and I would say not only to discover, but to represent both sides of the story. The thing that is exhausting for me when I watch any news outlet on TV, national news or whatever, is, and and Tanya can tell you, I'm yelling at the TV, tell the full story, tell all of the story, because they'll cherry pick people, and everybody does this in some manner or another. You cherry pick the pieces of a story to make your point. And there's always, and if something is fear-based, we're going to pick the worst statistics. We're going to talk about the worst things. So it will motivate you to go from A to B, whatever that means, and I just, that aggravates me a ton. So, all right. This is a biggie. Because we're not into drama. We will make an effort to not emphasize stories that simply bring us attention and drive up our viewership. We're not into drama. I mean, I can't tell you the number of messages that we get or emails that we get to our Facebook page of like, hey, did you hear that this person is this? Did you hear that this is going like that? And even before the EOU candidate, I got emails and messages about individual candidates. Be sure and ask them this, or be sure and ask them this. So they're like, they are wanting us to be in a position of creating a gotcha moment for that particular person.
Right.
And we're not going to do that.
And I'll explain that in my world too, in the sports world, in this valley between EOU and the high schools. I hear a lot of stuff, a lot of things,
right? Yeah,
inappropriate things that could drive viewership up,
right?
If used properly,
right?
But because of where we stand, I never even think about touching that stuff,
right?
You know what I mean? Not only would it just be poor, just poor ethics in my eyes, it would diminish relationships that I worked really hard to secure and establish. Yeah. So, I mean, that follows right into this, not bringing us attention or drive up our viewership, because some of the stories that I've heard in the last 3 years would definitely drive up our viewership if I talked about them. If I did something and people heard about it, I wouldn't want them popping up on a Facebook page or with 10,000 people following them and telling them about it.
You're exactly right. That's how I think about things. Is like, do I want someone to do that to me? Absolutely not. All right. We will cover, this is more of a business thing. We will cover visual events because our medium is visual.
Next.
We don't spend a lot of time writing blogs. We don't spend a lot. Yeah. So, intent matters. We will make an effort to discover intent and communicate that to our viewers when we learn that misunderstanding is in the wind. Now, there's a lot of media agencies that do not follow that.
Right.
They if they know that the viewers are purposely misunderstanding, they won't go to the effort like, we cover the story. If they're misunderstanding, it's on them. And for me, that's just not appropriate. Part of that is if you and I have a dispute and you misunderstood something I said, and so you're injured by that, I value my relationship with you. So I'm going to, even though you're mad at me, I'm going to make an effort to explain to you so that you understand.
Seek to understand before you speak. Seek to be understood is what my grandmother used to say.
Yeah.
And we miss that a lot.
Yeah.
We miss it a lot.
We will seek to give a voice to the voiceless. This sounds a little bit noble, but I mean, part of the business we're in is this is Eastern Oregon, and I mean, there's a lot of voices out there. There's a lot of football players. There's a lot of sports people that you give a voice to that would never have a voice in any other manner. And by voice meaning, there's some attention on the good things they're doing. There's some, and so that's, I mean, it's just one of the things that kind of drives us. We will celebrate local news and information. That's our emphasis. But, I mean, we will touch on national stuff or state stuff, but
rarely, on a rare occasion.
Yeah, but it's, people can go a lot. They can go a lot of different places to discover information outside of here. So we will try not to embarrass or humiliate people. We will let people speak for themselves. We won't manipulate their words to create drama. That's such the cool thing about video, is that we're not editing people. We're not, like your major news channel or whomever it is, they'll take just sound bites. They'll take a bite and then the narrator will continue the story, and then they'll take another bite in their stuff. So that's why some of our content, like this show, is a little longer, because people are able to speak their full thoughts and their full sentence. We're not editing them. We're not editing ourselves. This is a big one. We will project hope, not fear and panic. I mean, that speaks in and of itself, just where it is that we are, that we're not into drama. And part of that is we're not into fear, or we're not into panic. It is, for me, it's exhausting, especially with local stories. If you talk about hopelessness, and then you project that hopelessness, and then it's like, okay, we'll see you tomorrow. What are people supposed to do with that hopelessness? I mean, it's just, that is, I mean, if we're going to talk about a difficult subject, then I want to talk about solutions right now. It is not difficult to look at what's wrong. It takes real energy and people and effort and work for people to come together and figure out how to solve the problems or how to make them better, and so on and so forth. So that's the stuff that I want to push forward. Okay, let's go on here. And this is like with what we've been doing. We will emphasize issues that we can make a difference in our community over issues that we have no control over, to reduce the feeling of hopelessness. So we're not going to spend a huge amount of time talking about something that came down from the governor that we have no control over,
right,
and just sit around and whine and complain about it. Because again, that just creates and overemphasizes this hopelessness. It's not our job to teach, it's our job to inform. And again, this really comes out of a thing of like, I don't like it when I'm watching a TV show and they're shaming me, or they are guilting me, or they want me to change. And there's a pressure. And if you're a decent person, you will. So they're trying to push what it is that they think onto me. And at the end of the day, that's not what I want our content to be. So, but it is our job to tell you about things, to tell you about people and what they think and what they feel and what they're doing, and you to present that in a way that you would consider joining them or adopting what they think, or jumping in with them, or joining their organization, or whatever the case might be. And then this last one is create content that passes the gut test. you know, a lot of what we do is it's organic. I mean, it just comes, you know, Kyle and I and the staff were sitting around and we're talking about, well, wouldn't it be cool to do this? And so then it just kind of flows. And then there are times that you get into a situation, and that was how I felt last Tuesday night, was like, I don't feel good about this. My gut is not right about this. My instincts, the flags are going off at me. And so I actually put that in there this morning to kind of cover that these are evolving. These core values are evolving. We're learning.
Anyways, we're out of here.
Thanks, guys.